Hey y'all, it's fall. So recently on my Blue Sky, I've been posting these Pokemon illustrations that are sized for mobile backgrounds. I have high definition or high resolution versions for download on my Ko-fi if you're interested in that. You're so interested now. Ooh, there are only 3 hours. Oh my god, did you guys hear that? Must have been a ghost. Because that's what this video is about. To welcome spooky season, I drawn 4, count them 4, different illustrations of 4, count them, 4 different ghost type lines, excluding Megas and Gigantamax. Sorry, that's too much, and I don't want to. And I got a bit lost in detailing the second and third drawings, so we're cutting this into 2 videos. Fear not though, the next part will be up in only 2 weeks. Hopefully. Well, without further ado, let's talk about these Yamask watching the demise of the POV character. I love when Pokemon have unnecessarily dark lore, especially when they're cute. Give me a balloon that steals children, or an abandoned doll that hunts its owner any day. And the Egyptian theming, double homicide. For those of you who might not know,
Yamask, the spirit Pokemon. These Pokemon arose from the spirits of people interred in graves. Each retained memories of its former life. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Sometimes they look at it and cry. Cofagrigus, the coffin Pokemon. It has been said that they swallow those who get too close and turn them into mummies. Their bodies are covered in pure gold, and they like to eat gold nuggets.
huh? Yamasks are so sad, and I love them so much. Cofagrigus is wild, but like, go off, I guess. I see you. The world of Pokemon is a really dark one. Basic concept alone, the fact that the Pokemon quote-unquote like fighting doesn't make it any less eyebrow-raising. So it shouldn't surprise me, but it still does. I do like the assumption that can be made that there's an Egypt parallel in the Pokemon universe, so loving that. I, like many children born in the 90s, got to enjoy the animated, cinematic masterpiece, The Prince of Egypt, and even more fortunately, I only took 3 things away from that film. 1. A love and appreciation for animation. 2. An appreciation for religious music, cause that soundtrack, hello? I don't need to believe in him to feel him. And 3. An acknowledgement that propaganda can be art, but that doesn't mean we have to accept the message. Right, everyone? Right? My sister also loved The Mummy, which is also just a peak example of taking a time period and making it fantastical. But all I got from that was a fear of scarabs and an infatuation with Brendan Fraser. And the inspiration for this background. The inside of a pyramid, ancient tomb, or crypt is where these Pokemon would be found, so I needed to convey that through whatever was going to be in the window created by Cofagrigus' open coffin. I remember professors always telling me not to go with the first idea you have. Always ideate before you commit to something. I don't do that. The first thought I had for this piece was someone falling or being pulled into Cofagrigus. There's no other reason I wanted to do this. Definitely not to avoid having to actually draw Cofagrigus. Ah, Rue never. But I tend to stick to my first thought, because if I don't, the art is never getting done. I'll either never commit to an idea and ideate forever, or get bored and stop working on it. So, I gotta just full steam ahead. So, I sketched what we saw at the beginning of this video, and then started by building the brick wall. It was so fun, so easy. Squares, rectangles, lines. And because it was in the background, I knew it was going to be out of focus, so I could just be a little looser with it. I'm also just realizing while recording the voiceover that I left those lines purple just for so long. I don't even know when they're gonna be their correct colors, but right now, they're so wrong, and I'm sorry if that's bothering anyone, but this is real. I'm really glad the bodies of the Yamask and the hands of the Kofagrigus turned out the way I envisioned, and the shading of the mask was way easier than I thought it would be. Because they look more, I guess, complicated than I think. It just seems like small details, I guess, was what I was worried about. And then once I actually got to it, I was like, oh, this is like a swift movement, and they're shaded. So that was, hey, shout out to the Pokemon team for that one. Loving you down. Oh my god, it's happening. We're doing, oh. I'm sorry. Why did I fake? Like, why did I start doing that and then just decide, no, I'm shading these masks now. Oh, I'm blurring the background. Why did I fake myself out? I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. No, oh. There it is. There's the, okay. We're finally getting to the coloring the line art. I love that. I hope this is like cathartic for anyone who was hoping that would come soon. Alright, and now we're wrapping it up. So here is the final drawing. Just a couple neat guys watching your doom, you know? Loving them. Now it's time for the girly pops. Woo! Mischievous and Mismagius are by far my favorite ghost type Pokemon.
Mischievous, the Screech Pokemon. It gets nourishment from fear that it absorbs into its red orbs. During the daytime, it sleeps in the shadows. It conceals itself in darkness, sending chills up travelers' spines with its childlike weeping. As it observes the frightened travelers with glee, the red orbs upon its chest let off an eerie light. Mismagius, the magical Pokemon. Its cries sound like incantations. Those who hear it are tormented by headaches and hallucinations. The incantations Mismagius chants can ward against misfortune, so a custom exists of inviting it into one's home. Incur the Pokemon's displeasures, however, and disaster will surely ensue.
I'm not gonna scream witch. A Banshee that evolves into a witch? Yes, please sign me up. I feel like this evolution line gets looked past by a lot of the girls and the gays. She's giving bohemian goth realness, and she deserves her flowers as such. Follow me for a second, but I feel like Mischievous and Mismagius would be the Pokemon of the Owen sisters in Practical Magic. They're Banshee-like, which feeds into the curse of the movie, being a reminder of the impending doom to come to any man they love. They click into the story in a way that fits contextually and magically, a perfect pairing, I'd say. The thought of Pokemon in in-universe ghost movies is wild, like the Poltergeist, but with ghost types. Whoa. I can't watch horror movies because my brain can't handle it, but this makes me want to. A Banette, Annabelle. They've kind of been touching on like the danger aspect of Pokemon in trailers recently too. The gemstones of these two Pokemon have always been a big pull for me. I love crystals, and I'm sure you've heard my loud ass bangles that I wear just for you. So I'd really love it if a jeweler made a necklace based on these. I feel like it'd be interesting to see how they'd set the stones and what stones they'd used in the first place. I think they're giving rubies, but y'all know that better than me, so. I also want to see more cosplays of Mismagius too. The cosplay community doesn't play when it comes to a witch hat. I've seen the Ronnie ones and I know what you can do. You know what? I'm gonna look it up. Yup. I knew y'all would eat, and now I'm vindicated. So, any hatters out there, I'd also like to see some Mismagius hats. The cosplayers are doing them. Get in your bag. And please do that. I'll be keeping an eye out for them, because maybe I want to be a ghost witch next year at Ren Fair. I'm manifesting it in this moment. Because of their witchy lore, I knew a little meeting around a cauldron in the middle of the woods would be the scene. I like to think that Mismagius is teaching Mischievous how to make a dusk stone, because I couldn't find any lore about dusk stones that are used to evolve these Pokemon, so why not? They need to be able to evolve in the wild anyway. Maybe people bring them the stones in hopes of getting protected against misfortune. 3 ghost Pokemon in a forest protecting a small nearby village is a fun little narrative. I wanted to have the 3 of them be kind of reminiscent of the witches in Macbeth. So maybe not so much protecting more than predicting the fates of the villagers. Speaking of, do y'all remember the Macbeth episode of Jimmy Neutron? Whenever I think of Shakespeare, the first thing to pop into my head is the rap that Libby, Carl, and Cindy do when they're floating for whatever reason. They made it like a space-themed Macbeth. What is it? It's like, bubble, bubble, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble, old something, and stinky socks, rotten eggs, and classic rock. Why does she say that? Cindy would bring classic rock into a rap. That's the kind of girl she is. Libby deserved a better friend. But what a concept. Maybe that's where my love of witches began. No, it was definitely Scary Godmother. Do y'all remember that? Oh my god, what an eye-opening. 47 minutes. That's only like 10 minutes more than this video. What a feat of storytelling. The queer skeleton and werewolf, the happy straight vampire married with a healthy and well-mannered kid. Ugh, it was so wholesome. And really communicated the warm and like coziness of fall, but also the chilly and spooky vibes. If you haven't watched, what is it? It's the actual title. I closed the window. Scary Godmother. Scary Godmother Halloween Spooktacular. What's it streaming on? I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. Go watch it. Love. It's perfectly like in the middle. It perfectly encompasses a fall film. I ate that shit up, and it's yet again a cinematic masterpiece. But this one doesn't have the accolades that it deserves. Like, come on. What is it? Door is ajar. Door is ajar. Are you serious? I want to watch it right now. I'm gonna watch it today. I promise you that. Did I watch it? I already know that there's a yes on the screen because I'm watching it today. But let's get back into the art for a second. For this background, I had a little more planned compared to the nothing of the previous one. So I knew I wanted it to be set in the forest at night and have a cauldron lighting the little grove thing they're in. I wasn't sure how I was going to make it all work at first, but I had to figure it out at some point, so I just kept working. Pronouncing words is very important. In starting the coloring process, I forgot to record for a second, but thankfully I didn't get too far before I realized. But I started by painting in some trees and layers of grass to transition between the back and foreground. Then I filled in the Pokemon in the foreground. The changing color palette that happens between Mischievous and Mismagius is interesting to say the least. I understand that purple is a more magically aligned color, but the deep teal of Mischievous is so nice, and it makes me think of Gen 2 in such a fond, nostalgic way. But once I came to terms with the inevitability of change, I filled in the cauldron and the bubbles inside of it. Also, at this moment was when I completely forgot about the smoke that I had sketched, so love that for me. It would have blocked her face anyway and it wouldn't have done enough to warrant it being there, so I guess it's for the best. Then, it was onto the grass and figuring out the details for the environment. I had the animation of the tall grass in Pokemon games in mind, so I used some short flicks of my pen to create the blades of grass to separate the midground and background. I'm not sure what it is, but I feel like I go into a flow state way more when I'm doing Pokemon fan art than when I draw anything else. Unless it's a really good art day. Actually, I do know why. It's the lack of thinking. When I draw Pokemon, they're already broken down into simple shapes. They're optimized for animation and repetition, so I can see why something might not look right and fix it. But because I'm still learning how to draw people and pose them, I have to think the entire time I'm drawing. It all comes back to practice, doesn't it? Damn. Speaking of learning though, doing all of the value pushing in this was a very in-depth lesson in shading environments. Going back and forth to make sure that the values got darker the further the object is from the foreground is what really made this drawing take up about 2/3 of this video's red time. Thankfully, it was pretty fun to do. I thought shading the grass was going to be tedious and maybe a little difficult, but I had a grand time. I used the same flicking motions that I used to paint in the grassy edges, but this time to erase a layer of shading to define the high points of the blades of grass. I also shaded the grass on the edges of the area so they'd blend in with the texture underneath. Then I felt like there wasn't enough variation in the sizes of the blades of grass, so I went back in and added some more thicker ones. Shading the trees was the most straightforward part of this process to me, just using a soft brush to go around the edges to push back either side of the form. So, I wanted to add some more texture, and ended up trying a couple different brushes until I landed on the crack or crackle brush. I'm pretty sure it's a built-in texture brush, and I love the way it looks, just enough to not pull too much focus. I used a Dapple light brush that also came built into Clip Studio Paint to texture and shade the bushes that I had carved in earlier to the tree line. And after that, I added a little dappled texture to the deepest part of the forest before moving on to the trees. I really like the broccoli-like bumps it gives. It's giving, like, I don't know, fake tree. And now it's time to start shading the most glamorous diva in the world. Starting on the hat gave me some good momentum to keep moving through the end of the process. At this point, I had spent way too much time on the background, and I was about to be over it. But shading a bad bitch will always get me through it. And then it just became more and more fun. The brim was so satisfying to carve out, and making that gradient that goes up like closer to her or lighter to her face, and then defining the back of the brim. And then we went around and shaded her face and whatever's going on with her neck. I don't know what that thing is. But then I moved on to the like body that she has. Wow. Okay. Well, I am not going to apologize because I feel very strongly about having this be like a record of my process. But this video is going on forever. Oh my lord. I feel like I've talked about everything. How are y'all doing? Any fun fall plans? I have a friend's Halloween party in a couple weeks, and very excited. It's one of 2 costume parties they do a year, so loving that. I'm a yapper, but 40 minutes. This is like, what, 30-ish minutes? That's a long time to talk and entertain, especially on 2 drawings. Like, I understand the issues of speed painting now. And I guess I could just have the music playing, but I would feel bad asking people to watch a 30 minute video and just listening to royalty free music and watching me draw. That doesn't sound like a good use of anyone's time. I want to inspire joy, not boredom, you know? Maybe I'll do an experiment with these 2 videos, having this be like a long form, full process, and then the next one will be like maybe half the time, just kind of cut up and more engaging, I guess. This is more of a chill vibe. We'll see how the 2 compare, I guess. Highlighting doesn't even feel like a step in the process anymore. It's really like a glaze that just makes everything look so much better, in my opinion. I could watch someone highlight paintings all day. That should be my job. But no. No one wants me to have a good time. Sorry, I got distracted. Back to the 2 formats. I think I will do that, just to like see how this works. I also need to, with the state of this country, I feel more pressured into making this work as a career and not so much a hobby. Well, I guess it is just a hobby that turns into a job. You know, like most people on YouTube. Most successful people on YouTube. Let's make that clear. Oh, so like I have to get more serious about social media just in general, of like posting on different platforms, probably making short form content, which shout out to Bailey J for talking about how to reformat videos into vertical. That's very useful. So, gonna be doing that. I don't know about y'all, but the closest I've ever felt to magic is seeing any gem in any 2D animated Studio Ghibli film. You can't convince me that that's not actually benevolent witchcraft. So, I had to try my best to achieve that, like, translucent, shining from the inside, refracting light vibe to these ones. It was just the right thing to do. I think these 3 witches are finally finished, so here's the final art. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, let me know why in the comments. You can get high-res versions of these 2 and the next 2 in 2 weeks on my Ko-fi. You can also check out my Blue Sky and Instagram in the description or at the handles on the screen if you'd like. Thank you so much again for watching. Bye!